Specifically, what the integration allow is as soon as the GPS in the vehicle identifies that somebody is at the car trying to start the car, there is an attempt to start, what we call attempt to start in a vehicle that is disabled. Integration immediately send notification to the payment processing, let's say BlitzPay in this case. BlitzPay will send a text message on the spot to the customer saying, hey, you cannot drive, here's the reason, and here's the way to pay. And as soon as they pay on the spot, they can click a link, they can pay. BlitzPay close the loop with Ituran, and we send an enable command to the vehicle.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast. Luke, not often do I get the opportunity to talk to a CEO of a $1 billion company.
I know. Isn't that awesome? And he's the investor relations guy. So Ituran, our sponsor, is a publicly traded company, and they provide the best GPS service on the planet. And today we have Ariad just for a few minutes to talk to us about GPS technology and what dealers can do better and what we should be doing, right?
Hi, guys. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it would be all more honorable had you told me back in May of 23 to buy stock, but I guess we weren't friends back then. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I could have, but then I will be probably in jail by now. So
Insider trading.
I rather stay I like my wife. I want to be.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Ariad, no, thank you for joining us, man. So what I want to know is there's so many new things happening in the world of the GPSs. And I don't have my finger on it because honestly, I'm kind of a set it and forget it type of guy. So I'm probably way, way behind the curve. So catch me and other dealers like me up to speed. What is new in the world of GPS? How have you guys integrated the big fancy AI word into things and made GPS smarter and better for dealers?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's a good question. And definitely one of the things you said of set and forget, I want to go back to it later on because that's a soft point that we see in the industry. But back to your question of what's new in GPS, and I'm trying very hard not to use the titles of AI because we all hear it all the time. But how do we really translate that into things that we can do on a daily basis? And that's exactly what's new in the GPS world. So we're talking about smarter, actionable alerts, or what we call CBE, critical business events. How can the GPS system identify, through big data, through unfortunately or fortunately AI systems, how can we identify those actionable items that dealers should know about and they can take action quicker? By the way, it's everything at the end of the day funnel into how can they be more efficient and save money, right? That's the bottom line. How can we have less losses, recover quicker, know where our customers are? GPS as a location only. Location is commodity today. This is old news.
Yeah.
What's interesting today is those unique events that you are able to identify and then take action upon. And only at that point, it's become interesting with integration. If you don't mind, I'll give you a few examples.
Yeah.
Accidents. GPS should alert you when your vehicles are being involved in an accident, but it's not stopping there. It's not only vehicle.
Let me ask a question on that. How does it know? Are you talking about a GPS that's hooked into my OBD2 that gets some sort of engine data, or are you talking about these GPSs have impact sensors in them, and they know if they have a sudden stop?
Well, it's not only a sudden stop. You are correct. There are sensors within the GPS, the device that you install in your vehicle, that can identify any movement to the milliseconds. And through a lot of research and different threshold depends on vehicles, and truck behave very different than a regular vehicle. Let's assume we can identify when a vehicle has been involved in an accident. By the way, being part of Ituran, and you're correctly saying, Ituran is a worldwide company with over 2.6 million subscribers or active customers all over the world. A lot of them are coming from different businesses than what we are used to in the BHPH. Fleet management, asset recovery, and so forth. So a lot of the technology that we employ within our BHPH product comes from other industries. So accident notification, for example, is a great example for that. So yes, the vehicle, the GPS in the vehicle can identify when a vehicle is being involved in an accident. Now, what you do with it as the dealer relies on your processes and procedure.
Yeah, because let me tell you our current process as a procedure. We get and you're talking about this integration. I just get a report once a week, and I never look at the report. So tell me how I should use that area.
Okay, so there is on any event there is a first, as you said, notification. If you don't look at the report, you don't look at the report. That's a problem, right? But when there are more sophisticated way to triangulate information, for example, if you triangulate an accident notification with immediately after a towing, and then an impound message, meaning a vehicle was involved in an accident, is now towed into a specific impound, you really just have to act. You call. If you have a CPI, I mean, what we see unfortunately a lot is dealers that do have a CPI on their portfolio, but they are not necessarily following up on their notification, only to find the vehicle was either repair or just drop in a body shop not under their CPI, and they need to kind of eat the bill, much bigger bill than what they could have done. This is what I'm saying, the CB, those critical business event that you want to make sure that your system is alerting you. Now, how is it alerting you? There are very different way of doing it. I think I want to touch on the most important one, which is really integration. And again, following Jeff's question of what's new, the level of integration today between system in general and specifically GPS and other systems such as DMS, dealer management system, or payment processing is what makes a big difference. If you are integrated and you are working the account or not even working the account, now you can put a person, just like you're working on a queue of delinquency, you can work on a queue of CB, of critical business event. That show me those that were involved in an accident. Show me those customers that tampered with the device. And tampered is not like saying there is a power issue. We're talking about, again, we go back to this triangulate of different data points to understand what makes an installation problem separate than a tamper, because you definitely want to jump quicker on those tampers devices and do something. I'll give you another one. If we're talking about integration, that we introduced that probably over a year and a half ago, and has a huge success for those customers that are utilizing it through integration with payment processing. And we're integrated. Ituran is integrated with several different payment processing, but specifically, let's talk. Let's say about BlitzPay, which we're very proud of the integration with them. When a vehicle is in a starter disabled status, meaning the dealer decided that from a collection point of view, this customer reach a point where you want to disable the vehicle. We all know starter disable are great communication tools. That will make the customer calls you. But utilizing starter disable come with a lot of compliance as well. We can touch on that later on. Specifically, what the integration allow is, as soon as the GPS in the vehicle identifies that somebody is at the car trying to start the car, there is an attempt to start, what we call attempt to start in a vehicle that is disabled. Integration immediately send notification to the payment processing, let's say BlitzPay in this case. BlitzPay will send a text message on the spot to the customer saying, hey, you cannot drive, here's the reason, and here's the way to pay. And as soon as they pay on the spot, they can click a link, they can pay. BlitzPay close the loop with Ituran, and we send an enable command to the vehicle.
Wow.
So
Automatic. That's impressive.
And if you think about it, it's impressive in different level. Yeah. It's not only that you just collect on a payment without making any collection call, without bothering any of your people or investing time into it. You also are able now to collect 24/7. Yeah. There is no more, I want to drive at 2 a.m., but nobody at the dealership is answering, or even if I use an online payment, it will take time until we get the enable command sent. So this
Right. That's the problem is someone gets on and pays and you don't know it until the next morning and then you got to go re-enable it. So from the beginning, let me ask, and this is probably a question I know the answer to because of compliance, it won't disable if they miss a payment, right? Is it set up to automatically disable a customer's car if the payment's not made?
So you're taking us to a completely different, important chapter in integration called business rules. So the nice thing about integrating GPS system with, let's say, payment processing is that you can also dictate your specific business rule. You can utilize the automatic system, meaning the integration, just like you give commands to your collector. So if you are a person that, for example, would like to send a payment reminder after 1 day late or 5 days late, and then a second payment reminder after another 2 days or so forth, you dictate that to the integration, and now you have the peace of mind knowing that all accounts are going to be treated the same. It's no longer, well, I remember this customer, he was rude to me in the past, I want to disable his vehicle now. They all are treated the same. To answer your question about the disable, yes, you can automate an automatic disable. I can also share with you, without going into details, that majority of dealers do not do the automatic disable. They still like to, they are utilizing the automatic for the payment, meaning as soon as the payment comes in, the vehicle will be enabled. But I think it's good practice to keep the disabling to a different level. Sometimes you want to review it. Sometimes you want to do you want to give maybe another chance. When you disable a vehicle, as we know, it's an act of almost repossession, and actually in several states it's considered an act of repossession. Yeah. So you want to know that you have everything is done correctly.
Yeah, that's we talked about this, but disable is such a key tool for communication, and it's so helpful for consumers not to pay that repossession fee, right? And that's where some people get, if you're really wanting your people to continue to be in their car, and I hear customers don't like to communicate, use it for that. And I know with all these features, like I can't imagine a customer not even having to call my office to get their car re-enabled. I mean, that's fantastic. And yeah, I didn't even have to communicate with them. That's what I was trying to get them to do. They pay.
It's also the legislator and likes that very, very much, because in a way you have a system, a proven system, to show that the responsibility is really on the customer. They can drive whenever they are
2 a.m., 3 a.m.
That's right. Think if they had to go to work or to the hospital and all of a sudden they can't crank their car, all they can do is pay and boom.
Hey, sorry to break in real quick, but make sure you guys know about Buckeye, longtime awesome sponsor of the podcast and who I use for all my reinsurance products.
I can't thank them enough for teaching me so much about reinsurance over the years and coming up with new products and new ways to get my portfolio secured. My customers have options on warranties and service contracts, gap. It's just been great, Jeff.
It's absolutely been a great way for me to build wealth, put away some money. So if you are a buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here, or retail dealer, it works for all dealers. You can set up a reinsurance company. You can insure your own. Stop giving money to those third-party providers that aren't going to cover your stuff anyways. Keep it in-house. Call the guys and girls over at Buckeye Risk Services and get set up ASAP. All I can think about is that integration with my payment platforms, more AI. It seems like I'm getting to the point now where I can use AI to communicate at day 1, day 2, day 3, day 5, and have a series of conversations. But then by day 5, I have an automatic trigger that your car shuts off. I mean, it just seems like I'm really making my one collector so much more effective because so many of these base level decisions, and even the decision to shut off a GPS, like if you get to day 10 without a promise to pay, it just gets turned off. Like that's just the rule. It would be really interesting. They're just to automate all of that and take all the human decision and all the human headache out of it.
Absolutely. And then there is even an extra level on top of it that, and this is the service that the GPS company provide. Again, I can speak about ourselves. When you have a 24/7 live customer service, we follow go back to the business rules of the dealer. So dealers can tell us, for example, hey, if one of our customers is calling and giving you no matter whatever story they want to give you, it doesn't matter why the car needs to be enabled, we authorize you in advance to enable the vehicle for 24 hours and just let us know in the morning. We'll reach out, we'll make the payment arrangement if they can make it, or make a decision if we want to continue to disable or not. But this extra layer of protection, in a way, compliance protection, is also super important. At the same time, we mentioned that at the beginning, utilizing start disable does bring a more compliance complexity that a dealer needs to know about. And a lot of time the system provide that. Like, for example, I can speak about the Ituran system and our compliance module. It won't allow you just to send a star disable if this location that the vehicle is at is blacklisted. Think an Indian reserve, where you're not allowed just to use it. You'll get a notification. First of all, the integration won't send commands to those areas. We will verify location first before we send automatic star disable. And if you're doing it manually, you'll be notified. Are you sure you want to send a location? This is the reason why you cannot. Obviously, at the end of the day, the system could be.
Yeah, I mean, that's really neat. I have a rule: we don't disable unless the car is at a known address of the customer, right? Because I don't want it sitting other places. But this takes that an extra level, because I wouldn't even think about reservation where you can't.
Yep.
Where you can't do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. What about, talk to me, because I have an issue with starter interrupts, and we don't need to beat this horse too hard, but I don't like the idea of shutting off someone's car at their house, because I know 5 minutes later they're going to have their neighbor over there with a screwdriver. How to tamper with it, and because they know what it is, they're just like, well, let's go around the starter interrupt.
So it's obviously it's a very fair concern, I think, and a lot of dealers do have that concern, and I'm not here to say that it's not happening. But again, technology is there to either protect you or at least notify you when something like this happens. What I mean by that is that in the right system, in our system, for example, you get immediately notification when somebody is actually tampering. I not necessarily agree with you. I rather disconnect the car at the customer's house. That's actually a good place to disconnect to disable the vehicle, because you know where the vehicle is. He knows where the vehicle is. He wants to correct the situation. But if somebody is tampering with it, then first of all, you'll get the address where the vehicle was tampered, so you can verify. But more importantly, the system, or our system at least, will let you know of what we call an unauthorized drive. So if they do disconnect the device and are now driving, in many times the technology is built in a way that people that are looking for the right wires disconnect it from the ignition, but we still can send a message to say this vehicle is now driving and shouldn't drive. So you have more abilities to obviously to step in and take action. At the end of the day, if somebody is tampering with the device, in order to resolve it, you have to take action.
Is there anything about the locations that you're doing? Because I could imagine a world where if I had some sort of AI just constantly looking at the locations of my customers and saying, hey, this is out of the normal. Here's their normal pattern on a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And all of a sudden they are somewhere they shouldn't be, or the car is somewhere it shouldn't be. And it's still an address, but maybe it's not work anymore. Or maybe it's something just out of the ordinary. Do you have those like pattern recognition type alerts?
So the whole trends in, again, big data is something that is coming up very big and already implemented in system. It starts with mileage. Think about just regular mileage driven. You have, when you look on an account, on the snapshot, when you look just to see what it is, you always see how this vehicle has been behaving in the last 3 months, in the last 12 months, and how is it behaving comparing to the rest of your portfolio. Are they driving more? They're driving less. And now we care mainly on those extreme cases, meaning either excessive mileage usage that can obviously identify maybe it's a car sharing vehicles that you not necessarily want, or the opposite side of vehicles that are not being used at all, because that means it maybe be somebody that just dump the vehicle, a voluntary possession that they don't care. We see a lot of those at the side of the road. So if we identify a vehicle that is not moving for over X amount of days, and it's on the side of the road, obviously that's one of the things that we want to alert on. In regards to parking location, your question, then again, the answer is it makes a big difference when you know what are the top 5 parking spots of your customers are, and if there's any change in those. I always try to show collectors in this aspect, even when you're just really working the account, you should look where this vehicle is parking on a regular basis, because it tells a lot about the behavior and the profile of the customer. If if I'm looking at Luke's account and I see that majority of his parkings are in his home, and let's say in his office, right? He's in his regular behavior. I'm less concerned. He's trying to do the best. But then if we see a lot of stops in, I don't know, in a casino, well, first let's verify he's not working at the casino, but let's assume that he's not working at the casino, then it might bring him a higher risk level to the account, especially if they're late or if they've broken promises and so forth. So the trend where they park is super important.
Well, the dog track. Yeah, they went out to the dog track and they're there.
Trying to make the money for the payment, but we all know how that goes, right?
Or driving it like crazy Uber or DoorDash or whatever.
My competitors' locations, like if they drop it in because they're trying to trade it in somewhere, like that.
Obviously this is a very good point that should be utilized by all dealers. The concept of a geozone and a landmark. So a landmark in our lingo, you have unlimited locations that you can call points of interest, and to be notified if vehicles are parked there during the day. So we try to help the customers to put their portfolio, but it's not only the impound lots or the insurance total loss lots or the auctions, but definitely competitor is one of them. If you identify one of your vehicle in a competitor lot, it means it was traded in, probably. And now, are they just waiting for you to find the vehicle, or are they really going to reach out to you and pay? Be the first one to reach out.
Because there's been plenty of times for cars that have been left at new car stores and they didn't bother to pay us all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Well, Ariad, we're taking up a lot of your time. What are some parting notes that you think dealers should really focus on when it comes to GPS use that maybe we aren't thinking about?
When I go around, when I speak to dealers, there is one thoughts or best practices that I definitely want to share, but you'll see it actually has nothing to do with only GPS. It has to do in business in general. And that's to audit and to verify processes. Too often, unfortunately, we see business owners that are spending the time, they are learning the technology. I go back to my first comment about Jeff's kind of like set and forget. A lot of businesses work in this set and forget point of view, but there's new people, there's other people, and they're not utilizing the technology correctly. They're paying the money, but they're not utilizing it correctly. And return of investment is not only what you pay on day one, but actually what you are able to bring back. So I encourage dealers to either assign a person or do themselves to ask questions, to audit the processes, to reach out to their vendor. We encourage, for example, our dealers to reach out to us and say, hey, can we have a retraining? Let's do it on a quarterly basis. Let's do it every 6 months. Let us train your new people to make sure that you are actually utilizing all those critical business event and smart reports and actionable integration and so forth. So I always like to say that the most dangerous say in business is, oh, we always done that the way it's. No business owner should accept that. We always
did it that way.
Yeah, we always did it.
Or
what could go wrong?
I like that. Of course they do it that way.
Of course we did that. We've always done it.
They are, but they aren't.
I've been in too many situations, unfortunately, where even things that you thought that people are doing correctly, you realize they're not, and then you kind of go, oh, why didn't I look into it? So let's look into it in a more organized manner, if you will.
Well, that's great. Thank you for being on with us, and have a great day, Ariad.
Thank you, guys. Anytime. Happy to be here.
Take care.
All right, Jeff, sorry to break in, but we got to talk about putting money in the bank. And how do we do that?
I do it through Blitz Pay. The guys and girls at Blitz Pay are great, amazing, attentive, on top of it. I have had little to no issues since I switched over from that other company.
For sure. To me, they're probably the best services when it comes to answering phone calls and taking care of things that I've ever seen in a vendor. And the back-end automation, I've actually been working with that for a couple of dealers here lately and going in and changing up these automated texts that go out. Super simple. They work. The customers click and pay. It's fantastic. And also they got this AI thing, Jeff. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm stoked. They got the audio AI, the phone caller, and hopefully very soon the texting version of that. So it'll help my collector be way more efficient in the future. I'm super stoked to see the AI get integrated into the collections process, and BlitzPay is on the cutting edge of it. So if you're taking credit cards at all, whether you're buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here, even retail dealers can take advantage of this and use BlitzPay for their credit card processing. Incredibly competitive rates, super easy interface. Call the team over at BlitzPay and move your credit card processing today.
Jeff, that was a great interview we just had.
Yeah, it really does make me realize that I have been with my GPS company for so long that it's literally just a locate, and I only use the wireless. So that's, unfortunately, they are limited in their technology because they are a locate only type device for the most part. It makes me think, okay, do I need to relook at that starter interrupt situation because I am getting into a more expensive ACV, but I'm not necessarily getting a better customer. So I still don't think that these customers are going to be really put out when they know, hey, if you buy a car from Four Seasons, they have the ability to cut off your ignition whenever you don't pay. I think that's not going to hurt my sales.
No, it's not at all. It's just such a key that disable is such a key piece of communication. And I'll just say it again. I tell you one thing, people will talk about, and I think Ituran probably has the best, most reliable GPS out there. I've used several of them, and I think it is the best. The thing that goes wrong with GPSs, Jeff, are installations.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jack Carter about this years ago, and he's just said something so interesting. It's like the amount of time we take to put in a GPS is worth every penny of it because we never lose one. And so many dealers are just slapping them on, and we get ours done in 30 minutes. Well, okay, 15 minutes. Okay. What's your failure rate?
Yeah.
So it goes all back to process. So I think that if you take the time to install it properly in the dash, like really hidden behind the radio, behind the cluster, buried as deep as possible, you'll never have problems with it.
Yeah, it's really hard, and that's what I struggle with. And anyone listening to this that does the same model I do, which is a buy here, pay here retail hybrid, I'm not installing the wireless until the point of sale. So my salesmen are just going out there and dropping it in the headliner or the door panel or the center console. And that has its own inherent risks. But for me to go pre-wire a whole bunch of cars where I'm selling 70% buy here, pay here, and 30% retail there's obviously a handful I can obviously identify as buy here, pay here cars. But then you start saying, okay, does it have a GPS? Does it not? Does it need one? Do we need to tell the customer to come back because it takes an hour to hardwire it the right way? Now I need a technician that's capable of doing that because my guys are already swamped just trying to get make ready. Yeah. So the whole concept is very daunting to me, but the payoff on the collection side
is so huge.
Is where I need to stay focused, especially when it's automated. That automation situation would be incredibly handy because shutting off a GPS scares me because it creates such a hassle. It's like, dude, I'd rather repo the car and have them come here and deal with me than for me to shut the car off and then have to worry about it, then have to check in on it, and then have to restart it so that it's not sitting in their driveway because it blocked in their husband's car who can't get to work, and like all the nonsense that comes with that. Like
it's really not that much nonsense that you're making out to me, but it's not, I promise you. But that is an interesting situation. We always, when we were buy here, pay here, we always wired the car as soon as during recon it was done. And it's part of our processes and procedures. And what's funny is we started having an issue where GPSs weren't working. So I was like, we have a new guy, a new make ready guy who's installing every GPS. I know how they're supposed to be done. How are they actually done? So to audit my processes and procedures, I went out there and I watched him and I go, of course they're not working, because he was just slapping them on there. He was putting them where they could get wet. We had a couple of them come back just flooded in water. And you're like,
wow.
Oh my gosh, how many cars have I lost because we didn't take the time? I didn't audit the process and the procedure to make sure it was done right.
Yeah. And so many people think, oh, it's just failure rate. Like, no, they're not failing like you think they are. So let's talk about that. And we mentioned that process and procedure, but it applies to, I mean, we could talk about everything in your dealership.
Yeah.
But give me that example of what are you doing to make sure that those processes are carried all the way down to the front line? Because I feel like if I just show up and I sit over someone's shoulder, 99% of the chance they're going to be doing it the right way because I'm sitting over their shoulder.
Yeah.
But you have another way to make sure these things are getting all the way to the front line and being done consistently?
Number one, you should be training your managers on the process. And then if you're not a huge dealership, you need to be auditing all those procedures. And it's not like going out there, you can go out there and watch them because their manager may have trained them improperly on the procedure, right? You can retrain. What we did years ago, and this went away when we lost a salesperson, and I finally figured it out later because the process broken. Had an audit checklist every time you sold a car that you had to check off. It was about 10 things that you had to check off that you did. Well, it's easy to go back and verify that what they checked off was actually done. Yeah. And when we were following that procedure, everything was signed properly. We were asking for the review. The reviews went up. They were checking the GPS before it left the dealership to make sure.
Like actually pinging it.
Pinging the GPS, disabling the GPS, making sure all this was working before they left the dealership. And there was 4 or 5 other things they had to do. One was back, so these are things that you can have a checklist to make sure your processes and procedures are being used. Whoever signs off on the checklist, as you do during recon, the final drive needs to be a checklist. They need to check everything. It has to be signed off. You can pull those sheets, go and spot check a few cars yourself, and verify that the person doing the job actually did the job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really smart. I mean, we've got a similar thing, and I don't have a deal jacket here, but on the front of my deal jackets, I just have a big sticker that goes on there, and I've got those little check boxes and initials. And so, yeah, the salesman is supposed to go through and check all those things, initial it. And if you tied that to their commission sheet or however if you're doing a commission stub or something like that, guaranteed that's a way to get it done or to make sure that it's getting done. But even within that, you do still need a spot audit too, right? I mean, are you doing something like that?
Yep. You do a spot audit. You do 4 or 5 deals a month just to make sure it's done right. And you'll find a trend because something's just being done their way instead of the dealership's way. So you just have to retrain it.
Figured out a way to shortcut something.
Yeah.
They always will.
And the shortcut, that's just people's nature. They're going to shortcut it. But the shortcut is really costing the dealer a lot of money. They don't know it. Yeah. We're doing a couple of my clients right now. We're doing postmortems on repos, trying to figure out, we all say we have a underwriting protocol, and this is everything it should look like, right? Well, what you find is that leaks over the years, right? Well, we were 6 months on the job. Well, last month, actually, half of your approvals were 3 months on the job.
Yeah.
So something leaked there. So sometimes you have to go back and do a whole postmortem on everything. You can do a postmortem on repos, do a postmortem on recon, all these things to figure out where the problems are. Then you just have to go back and retrain. Yeah. And I know it's terrible and it sounds daunting to a dealership owner or manager, but it's just what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great, man. A lot of good information for me and good reminders of things I need to go back and do. So I got my sticky notes here with a bunch of action items. So hope everyone else did too, and excited to talk to you guys next week.
See ya.